we have another young Indian with us right now. Hello, everyone. Good to be with you. Today, at the moment, we have with us Pruthvi. Let's listen to her. Over to you, Pruthvi.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pruthvi, and before I start off in this session, I would like to thank Mr. Mathur for giving me an opportunity. It was a very novel idea when I heard about it, and I think it's a very commendable initiative, sir. I mean, at your level, people who are experienced like this, taking initiatives like this is very appreciable.
Okay,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you. Thank you.
I'd like to start off by introducing myself. I'm Pruthvi. I currently work as an ESG consultant with an asset management company based in Chennai. I have a master's in rural development and governance from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. And prior to that, I have a background in commerce and also cost and work. I also have a degree in cost and work accountancy.
Okay.
I prior to working as an ESG consultant, I've worked with NGOs and and bureaucrats and professors in public policy related assignments. So, so today I was actually thinking about what to talk about because the kind of work that I've done over the last few years have been very diverse. I mean, they're all interconnected, but they're all very diverse. But a certain line stuck with me in the morning. I mean, I get this very often that I've always chosen a very unconventional path in my career. And it somehow doesn't always come in a positive way. It goes both ways. You know, when people look at my career, they are like, "You've chosen a very unconventional path, and it is not exactly rewarding sometimes." Which I feel, of course, it is. But also today, that is what I want to talk about how it is important to have a very unconventional path sometimes, and why you should, and why people should choose that as well.
Okay. Let's hear it. I know you have an unconventional path. I've seen your profile, and you've also had quite a more work experience than many people who have come here. So let's hear your pivots and why you pivoted the way you did. I think it'll be very useful for juniors who watch this. Okay, so let's have it. Let's have it.
Like every other typical student who graduates from cities, I think larger cities, the obvious career path when you finish your school is leaning towards either engineering, medicine, or you lean towards commerce. That was the obvious choices that I had. And like every other student, I leaned towards a career in commerce. I chose commerce in my 11th and 12th, and then I did my bachelor's in commerce honors. And when I did my bachelor's in commerce honors,
Which city was this from? Commerce.
Chennai,
Chennai.
Chennai.
Okay.
Chennai is very big on commerce. Like there's equal competition for engineering courses. So it was quite big at the time I was graduating. When I was doing my bachelor's, somehow the idea of sticking with a career in finance wasn't very appealing to me. I mean, it was exciting in terms of the career prospects or the kind of money that I would make at the end of it, right? You know, somehow it didn't sit with me, that whole idea of doing a 9 to 5 job or like sticking with numbers and computers actually. I mean, at that time, I used to voice out my opinion with my friends and my family, and they always told me that, you know, maybe it's time you look at other fields as well. And I was always fascinated with the social sciences. When I was graduating towards the end of my third year, I decided that it's time that I look at doing something that I really enjoy studying. And that is when I started exploring other fields for my master's degree. And it was very surprising to me that I was looking through a number of courses,
Oh, wait a
but
minute.
including economics.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Why was it so certain that you will do a master's degree?
Oh, yes. I always wanted to have a master's degree. I never wanted to stick with a bachelor's degree in the first place. And also, I think master's was the one which I thought was a platform for me to study any subject of my choice, not to stick with a conventional subject. Like,
Okay.
a degree is always a backup for me, right?
Okay.
You know, a basic commerce degree. Yeah. So then I landed up with this course on rural development and governance from TIS. And when I went through the course details, it was very appealing to me and it resonated with my whole idea of exploring something in the social sciences. But to be honest, I've never visited a rural area before I even took this course. I've never been to a village before I even took this course. I was scared, but then I was sure that this is what I wanted to do. And I approached my parents with this topic. And they only asked me one question. Are you sure? Is this what you want to do? And I said yes. And they said, but that would mean you're going to put a lot of hard work towards this. You can't quit halfway through. And I said, no, that is not what I want to do. I want to really do these 2 years and then see how it takes me. And so far, that has been the most significant decision I ever made
Okay.
because my entire career uh, path changed with that.
Okay.
I had a job offer to join another firm, but I refused that and I went into my master's into a totally different field, which I had no idea of.
Yeah.
So that's how I landed with a master's degree in this. So those 2 years, which I did
But
my
it's
master's,
hard
where
to get into this, right? It's hard to get in. It's
it
not.
was hard.
So how did you manage it?
I think it was just passion. I just wanted to do it, and I pushed myself through it
Or is
the
there an
entire.
entrance exam or something? How does it work?
Yes, there was an entrance exam followed by a group discussion and a personal interview to get
Wow.
into this.
It's hard to get in, right? You just don't land up there,
Yes,
right? Okay, good.
yes,
So you made it.
yes, yes. I somehow got through it, and I was delighted that I got through it.
Mhm.
But those 2 years which I spent doing the course, I think my off classroom learnings were much more than what I learned on the classroom. We
Okay.
had we had people, so I used to stay in the campus. I did my master's from the Hyderabad campus.
Okay.
So I stayed in the campus, and there were people from every length and breadth of the country. And people spoke different languages, people had different perspectives. And, it was very surprising for me, who came from a very traditional background and a very traditional upbringing, to start embracing ideas and perspectives. It took time, but over the period, I just started understanding perspectives more about different subjects. So, one thing my biggest takeaway from there is there's never something right or wrong. People see it from different perspectives. It is up to us to understand and appreciate perspectives and do what we feel is right. So that was my biggest takeaway from those 2 years that I spent there. I made a lot of friends. I gained a lot of perspectives about different topics.
Hmm.
And subsequently, after my masters, I went on to join an NGO in Telangana, where my first assignment was working in a village with farmers. I was shocked when I got to know that this was my first assignment, to be honest, because I did visit villages while I was and did a lot of rural development works while doing my masters. But the idea of staying in a place and interacting with them on a day-to-day basis in a totally different place was kind of very scary to me when I got the opportunity.
But you don't know Telugu, so how
So
would you communicate with them?
I know Telugu. My mother tongue is Telugu,
Oh,
but I never spoke the dialect.
I see. You are from Chennai, you are actually Telugu speaking.
My mother tongue is
Okay.
Telugu.
All right. So that was
So
not a problem.
that obstacle was crossed,
Okay.
the language obstacle.
Yeah.
But of course, I never spoke the dialect of the rural Telangana.
Uh-huh.
So I did have a challenge there.
Okay.
So I do remember my first day. Still, this was in 2017, where I landed up in a village. I didn't know how to read or write Telugu. I just knew how to speak the language.
Okay.
So I turned up with my luggage there, and I had 10 people there to receive me. So, and all of them were, it was just overwhelming for me to see how kind they were and how helpful and friendly they were.
Hmm.
They knew I was coming alone to stay with in the place, so they helped me find a house. They helped me set up a house, and for a few days they even fed me. They gave me food
Hmm.
at all 3 times a day, and that experience,
By the way,
like
how was the food? How was
it
the
left
food?
a
How was the
Oh,
food?
very spicy,
Ah,
but
yeah.
very good as well.
Okay. You were not used to that kind of food, or you were used to it?
Uh, it was a mix. There were some foods that I was used to,
Hmm.
but they ate more of a millet-based diet, which I was
Hmm.
never used.
Okay. All
So the
right.
millet part was very new to me, but
Okay.
I eat millets a lot.
Okay.
That was my kickstart towards eating millets.
Yeah.
Um, so then I started my first job, which involved working with farmers. I worked with around 4,000 farmers in 6 villages there. And what we were trying to do was set up a farmer producer organization.
Hmm.
So basically, the area where I was working, they had the major crop was maize and paddy, but it was a drought prone area. So they had measures to actually increase the water availability in the area and all of that. But the major challenge again was that they were not getting the right prices because of the middlemen and the issues in the supply chain involved. So it we were trying to not follow at that time. This was in 2017. FPOs was a very bigly, majorly promoted idea, but there were different models of FPOs working. So we thought we need to come up with a very customized model, understand what these farmers require, where they are lagging in the whole supply chain, and address those issues. So for a month, the next whole month, I stayed with them and used to talk with them on a personal level, understand where they were coming from, and understand and then slowly build up a model. So the model we built up was that we identified 2 people from each village in all of these 6 villages who had a basic education, which is up to 10th standard or 12th standard,
Hmm.
and those who were able to voice out the opinion of their colleagues or their peers. So then we started training them slowly to help them understand what the issues involved in marketing are and where they need to start coming up with interventions. We then helped them come up with, start. We first started with a savings group, helped them put in certain amount of money, a small amount, 10 rupees every month. Started with 10 rupees every month into a savings account because putting in money would help them feel that they are members of an organization. They are also equally responsible for whatever activities that they do.
And where
And
was the
then
bank? Where was
slowly,
the bank? Where was the bank?
so this started in a very informal way. And
Okay.
after 2 months is when we opened a local bank account and
Okay.
started depositing money. What we found very surprising is that it started with men, but there were a lot of women who were interested in doing these activities, and they were much more efficient in managing the money. The men were much more efficient in managing the marketing operations, but the women were much more efficient with managing money, and they slowly started coming out. So what started with 4,000 farmers over a period of 6 months, by the time I exited the project to move to another, went up to 6,000 to 7,000 farms, and all of them worked together. What we did was, primarily what I did was through the organization, help them understand where the issues are and give the initial push. After that, how they set up and ran their operations was entirely on them. We just stood behind them and helped them do that. So
Okay.
today, they have their own company. The FP was registered as a company, and their last year's turnover was 1.5 crores.
Okay. It's good.
So, so they've run a very, very successful company so far. So that for me, I was involved only to a certain extent, setting up
Okay.
this company, registering the company. But
Yeah.
after that, it was their work and the work of my colleagues who took it.
And how easy was it to register the company?
So registration was relatively easy because we already had the back papers ready, and
Yeah.
we spoke to those people in the registrar office and facilitated that part for them.
Okay.
I think the major challenge we faced was the first time they took it to the market, commanding their own prices, because it was very new in a wholesale market for a farmer to come up and command a certain amount of price for the
Yeah.
quality of product
Yeah.
that he is selling. So that was where the challenge was initially faced. But over time, that all of that has significantly come down. Today, any farmer in that association is able to go to a market, command the price that he has for his product and is able to easily sell that product.
Okay. All right. So
So
well done. Congratulations. Well done.
thank you. Thank you. Subsequently, I worked on another project which is called the Model Villages. So basically, this was being run by CSR funds, where each company, through their CSR funds, they had adopted a village, and the responsibility of transforming the entire village was left to the NGO that I was working with.
Yeah.
Um, Again, we wanted to do a different model where there is participation from the villagers themselves and not somebody just driving and telling them how to get things done. So this was both in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, and I worked in 4 villages there, where we did a number of activities in each of this. So the first thing we did was come up with a village development plan for each of these villages. Each village had its own plan where they set long-term priorities, medium-term priorities, and short-term priorities.
Okay.
So short-term would be a year, and with the available resources, they would come together and decide what they want to do in this particular year. So if they needed roads, we explored avenues of there are already funding from sources available from the government if they needed to lay a road. So the we identified where the barriers were, why the funding wasn't coming, and then work towards it. Help them through their sarpanch and the panchayat itself to get those road funding. Similarly, if there was any infrastructure repairs in the school, we identified those, had those done. Um, so one, I mean, we did a lot of programs, but there is one particular thing which worked really well in all these 4 villages, which was called the school twinning program. We named it a school twinning program.
Okay, let's hear it.
So a school twinning program is essentially this, that we identified one private school in the city nearest to each of these villages, a very well funded private school, and one public school in these villages. It could be either a primary school or a high school. So what we did was speak to both these sets of principals and have a program over a course of 1 year where in each month either the students of these government schools would visit these students in the private schools, same class set of students. So if it's a 6th standard student, a 6th standard set of students, they would visit the 6th standard set of students in the private school, and they would together engage in one or the other activity. So
Okay.
a private school with all its resources would be able to teach these children maybe the basics of computers, or teach them or provide them with the basic resources for a month. And similarly, these public school, city private school students would have never probably visited a village before, or they don't know how their peers are performing in these public schools. So they would come the other month.
Just like you were.
Yeah, true. So,
And
I
most
mean,
of
it
us-
started from there.
Yeah.
The idea started from there.
So anyway, you took okay, you did the school program, and that sounds very good. Okay, what's next?
Yeah. So then, while I've worked over 2.5 years in the place, I had an offer to understand closely about public policy.
Yeah.
So basically, an offer came from a senior bureaucrat in the Andhra Pradesh government, and the opportunity was to work closely with him on public policy issues and understand how these challenges in the field can be translated into issues of policy concern, how to draft policies which will have evidences from the field. So I worked with, this was an opportunity where I worked with senior bureaucrats across the country, and also with various professors and people who are actually involved in policy making. So as part of that, I worked on different topics on child marriage, on coming up with a state action plan to eliminate child marriages. And after that, there was also a project which we did on drafting the outcome budgeting of states. So
Okay.
basically, putting up indicators, making the budgets more accountable, also having a gender-based budgeting and similar such exercises. So I worked exclusively on translating my learnings from the field into policy making. So these 2 years, the next 2 years, I spent working only on those related research projects, and basically backing up my learnings from the field into a way that I can translate these into policy making. And it actually translated in a few states.
Okay.
So this action plan on child marriages, we did it for both Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. The outcome budgets, we did it for Jharkhand. And we also had proposals for the UP government,
Okay.
which we worked. So while I was working all of this, I had a necessity to shift back to Chennai, which is my hometown. Which is when I was searching for opportunities and I landed in my current role. So my current role is basically I am an ESG consultant. ESG is right now a very commonly used word across, probably more on LinkedIn nowadays. So ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance, or
Yeah.
it is sustainability. In other words, it's looking at sustainability. So I shifted to a field where right now I look at investments, how responsible investing can be made. So I work closely with uh, a private investment firm, but also this private investment firm is backed by World Bank and Asian Development Bank. And I manage the evaluation of all of these investment proposals and
Okay.
also subsequent monitoring of these investments.
Yeah.
So it isn't a very drastic shift from what I was doing before, but I think it is essentially a transition to a much nuanced role,
Yeah.
especially since ESG is a very, very emerging field and there's more standard formats across the world. Especially, I work on a very niche field. I work on affordable housing opportunities in the
Okay.
state of Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
So in affordable housing opportunities, I've been here for the last 2.5 years, and all this time we are looking at how to increase the affordability and how do our responsible investment approaches and widen this bracket of affordability and similar such initiatives. So my work involves a lot of research and evaluation and subsequent backing up of all our monitoring activities that we do. But over the course of this 2.5 years, it's essentially exploring a field where there's no much background available. You need to start off somewhere and subsequently build on your work. So that is where I face a lot of comments from various people, both in a good way and a bad way, that I have a very, very unconventional career path. They see. But I think there's nothing wrong in having a very unconventional path.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it doesn't look so unconventional to me. It looks like you're taking opportunities as they arise. And that's not,
I did.
it's not unconventional to take
Yeah.
opportunities as they arise. It's smart. It just say,
That,
okay,
yeah.
somebody asks me to do something, you didn't apply for it, they asked you, and that's good appreciation for your work. And
That's true.
then even though you had to go to Chennai, somebody found you and they asked you to do something, and it's interesting. So I don't think there's anything negative about it. I mean, the time when, grandfather's time, you took one job and you stuck to it, that is long gone. I think it's modern life to explore so many things and to do so many things. So I think it's modern conventional. It's not old fashioned.
It is modern.
It is
Yes.
modern
But
conventional. So
yeah. But when you are surrounded by I think it had to do mostly with the kind of people I get surrounded with. I wouldn't face this kind of comments if I was sticking in the same circles. But my kind of interaction and the people I interact with on a day-to-day basis are people who come from a very traditional way of education system. They would have graduated, they would have chosen engineering or got into a very hardcore financial field. And and there's nothing wrong in doing either paths. I chose what came to me, of course, like you said. Everything landed one after the other, and I'm here for a purpose, is what I feel when I do that. And maybe the financial incentives are what somebody would get in 5 years is what it would take me 10 years to reach there. But
yeah,
it's okay, in my opinion, to go there. You know, it depends on a very individual perspective. And as long as I'm happy at the end of the day in what I do, when my work, when I see there's an impact, when I see that my work is not just sitting on a desk every other day. That I think found matters to me at the end of the day.
Well, you surely look happy, that's for sure. Anybody can see that you are happy with what you are doing.
Yes.
In this unconventional path, do you see the future, or you will take an opportunity as they come?
I definitely see a future. I want to upgrade my skills and work in the same way. But again, I'm not a person who denies opportunities as they come. So,
Okay.
fingers crossed to see what is in store.
All right. You have any tips for your juniors?
Uh, my only suggestion or word of advice would be is trust, just believe in what you do.
Okay.
And it can be a traditional journey that you undertake. You could get into the one of the most, like, an engineering degree or a medicine degree, but whatever you do, put your heart into it, because at the end of the day, what matters is, are you happy with what you do? Because if
Okay.
you're not happy with what you do, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
You're just one among, um, you're another sheep in the herd.
Well, all right. That's great. Anything else you want to add?
Um, no, Ms. Mathur. Today was more about just speaking openly about my journey. But
Right. Okay.
I have been following your videos and looking at the kind of people that you've been interacting with, and it's great to see people with such diverse backgrounds and such varied interests. In fact, like you said, most of the people are much younger than me, and it is great that they've started off that. And I just wish all the best to all of them, and I really want to see what they do in the future.
Yeah, me too. And thank you so much. You have really achieved a lot in a short period of time. I mean, it's not easy to work across India in so many different states, and to actually produce something practical that could be translated into action in different states, in covering UP, Jharkhand. It's a little bit unknown to you before you started that work. So it's good that and villages in Andhra. I mean, I guess I don't know whether in Telangana or Andhra, but Telugu speaking villages. So it's quite a journey that you've had, and it's really, I would say, it's symbolic of young India today, modern young India today, that you are not afraid to go into things that you don't really have a deep background in and figure it out. Just figure it out as to what you can do there. And you have the skills, and you have the temperament and the dedication, because you like the work you're doing. So thank you so much for being here. And let's end it here today. And
Sure.
I will be back with another young person or an expert soon. Until then, bye. Let's say bye to the viewers. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.